Hey guys, welcome back to another video, where today I'm going to show you this machine that can generate infinite potions in survival Minecraft. So if you'd like to skip straight to the tutorial or to any other part of the video, then you can use the timestamps in the description below, and there will also be a world download down there if you'd like to explore this world in more detail. So the mechanic that I'm using to make this work is that when a creeper has a status effect on it and it blows up, then it will make an area effect cloud on the ground that has the same duration as the creeper had, as well as the same effect. And you can also use multiple of these effects at the same time to create an area effect cloud with multiple effects at once. And this means that if a creeper were to blow up with 30 seconds left of a potion, then it would create an area effect cloud that gives you 30 seconds of that potion. So this means that if we give the creeper an effect right as it blows up, then it will keep the duration of the potion, and we can keep pumping creepers into the lingering effect cloud that the previous creeper made, meaning that the duration will never be lost, and we could have an infinite cycle of potions being made, and the player could just walk into that area effect cloud to regain the effect, and it would pretty much just last forever until the player were to turn it off, or to leave the world, or to walk too far away from it to spawn more creepers. But it will also work with things like spectral arrows that will give the glowing effect, and it can work with multiple effects at the same time. So if we light this creeper up, then it will have this strange colored effect, which is a combination of glowing and strength, and if I step in it, then I get glowing and strength. So now that I've shown you the mechanics behind this, I'm going to show you how it actually works. So right here is the on switch, and what this does is it activates this fence gate so that the snow golem can see the zombie, and then it will start shooting at it, and then once the zombie gets hit by a snowball, it will get hit up into the string, which is being detected by this observer, and this observer will activate this dropper, which has this item in it, putting it into this dropper, which activates this comparator. And then also, once this thing turns off, this observer will detect that the redstone block has moved, and it will activate this dropper over here, which will have the item in it if you're turning it off, and then it will put the item back into this dropper so that it's reset for the next time you want to turn it on. And once this comparator is activated after you turn it on, then it will deactivate this redstone line, which will deactivate this piston, which will let this redstone signal reach the dispenser right here, which has our minecart in it. And over here we have our creepers. If you were doing this in survival, you'd have it linked up to a creeper farm instead of this little contraption that I made here so that we have infinite creepers. Instead, you would just use a creeper farm. But once this activates, it'll pick up one of your creepers, drop it over here, and the reason we have to use this thing instead of just dropping it on the rail is because I was having problems with the creeper getting hit too early, which would make it just blow up on this rail since it wouldn't get detected. But basically what this thing does is when the creeper lands on this tripwire, it will send this piston over right as it moves the block away, so that the creeper in the minecart will get pushed over onto this block, and then it won't have a chance of the snow golem hitting it mid-air, so that way we don't have any problems with that. And we also have this water in here so that the creeper doesn't take any fall damage. But once the creeper lands in here and gets pushed over, then the block will be swapped back again so that we have the solid block behind it so that it will actually move when we power the rails. Then, once the creeper gets hit, this skulk sensor will detect it, which will activate these powered rails up here through that block right there, and the creeper will begin moving across here as it's blowing up because it's angry at the snow golem that just hit it, and then it will blow up right over here and barely get detected by this detector rail. And once this detector rail is detected, the minecart will go into this minecart will go into this dropper right here, and it will activate this piston, which has a redstone block at the end of it, and when it is activated, there will be no signal right here since the redstone block will be a block forwards, and then when it goes back, it will activate this line again, activating this dropper, which sends the minecart all the way up here into this hopper, and back in the dispenser where it started from, so we can use the same minecart every single time. Then over here, we have this little clock right here, which is just the perfect amount of time so that we can use another creeper without messing up the timing, and so that we need as few creepers as possible to run this, so you could have a slower farm to run this thing. Then, once the clock is done, it will activate this line right here, which will activate this dropper again. And then the cycle will just continue, and the creepers will infinitely blow up over here. But a few more things about how this works. This right here is a tripwire hook that will detect when the creeper goes by on the minecart, and over here we use it to detect this area right here, and we use an observer so that it will dispense water onto the ground so that the creeper won't blow up any of the blocks, but it does it at the perfect time so that the creeper doesn't get slowed down either. And then Once this activates, it will deactivate because we detect it with an observer. So the observer will detect the tripwire hook activating, and then it will detect it deactivating as well. So once the tripwire hook is deactivated, it will deactivate this water as well. Then over here, we have the system that will actually let us add the potion effects. So when we hit this button, it will push this white dye, or it could be any other item, into this dropper over here, which will deactivate this comparator. And this comparator is attached to a dispenser, which is perfectly placed so that it can shoot the creeper right as it blows up. And then when the creeper is detected by this tripwire, then it will push the item back into this dropper and activate the dispenser over here. And also, another thing I want to mention about this is you can use arrows and splash potions, but if you want to use instant damage or instant health, then they only work for one cycle, and they only work with specifically arrows, and that's due to the fact that arrows and splash potions have different speeds when they're fired out of a dispenser. So you might have noticed this thing over here, and the reason I haven't mentioned this yet is because this is purely optional, and this is for the levitation effect. So how this works is when you deactivate this lever, it will deactivate this trapdoor, which will let the snow golem see the shulker, and the snow golem will shoot it, and the shulker will try to shoot back. And because the shulker pretty much shoots at random intervals, I couldn't just replace this snow golem over here with the shulker. So instead, what I had to do was have the shulker just shoot right next to the creeper and hope that it hit at the perfect time eventually, which it will. And because you have infinite creepers, it doesn't really matter. It's just a matter of time until you get the levitation effect. And then once you see the levitation effect, you can turn this off, and it will keep producing the levitation effect afterwards infinitely. But how this works after that is, the reason we have the shulker in the minecart is because we need it to be affected by gravity so that we can move it away from the explosion of the creeper, because right now he's way too close to the creeper explosion and will take damage. But because of the system down here, it's attached to the skulk sensor, which will activate, and what it will do is it will pull back this piston as it is dropped down, so the shulker will be able to fall through the ground onto this slime block, which is also retracted. And then once the skulk sensor has waited long enough, it will activate this slime block again and put the blocks back underneath it, and it'll land back up here. And then that way the shulker won't get hurt by the creeper's explosion, and he'll be at full health the entire time, and we can just use this for as long as we want to. And over here I have a little bit of a area showing how high you can go with the shulker's levitation. So right here is just if you stand still and don't jump at all, then you'll just land at about this height. But if you use jump boost with the levitation, because you can stack these effects in here as well, then and you hold down jump and you jump at the perfect time, then you can get an extra 2 blocks upwards, and maybe even a little bit more if you perfectly time it. So now that you know how it works, I'm going to show you the contraption in action. So what we want to do first is come over here and add our effects to the dispenser. And if you don't matter what order they're put in, then you can just put them both in and it will randomly select one of them. I've chosen the glowing from the spectral arrow and the strength from the splash potion to show that both of them will work. And then you'll want to hit this button so that it will shoot out the potion or the arrow. Then you're going to want to come over here and activate this lever, and the farm should start shortly after. So as you can see, this creeper will drop down, get hit, and be sent over here. And already we have our glowing, and then we can press our button again so that it will activate the strength as well. So the creeper should come over here, get hit by the strength right as it blows up, and then it will have the strength and glowing effect on the ground. So the creeper will come over again, blow up, and it will keep renewing itself forever. And as you can see, when I stand here, I get strength and glowing. So now it should just pretty much last forever when we do this. And as you can see, the shulker over here is not taking any damage because he's being dropped down at the perfect time. So he's perfectly safe, as you can see. But now, once you have this running, you can basically just AFK and you can add as many potion effects as you want to. And you can also activate this right here if you want to add the levitation. So if I want to add levitation, then you basically just have to activate this and wait for a little bit until the creeper happens to get hit at the perfect time. It is a little bit inconvenient, but it's the easiest way that I could think of just to add this because there really isn't that much space, as you can see. As you can see, after a little while, the shulker managed to hit the creeper, and once you see that, you can turn it off. And then, as you can see, once this activates, we'll have the levitation effect as well as our glowing and strength from earlier. And then, once you want to turn this off, you should wait for the creeper to explode, and then hit this lever so that you don't stop the creeper from landing on the snow golem. So now is a good time to turn it off, and then it should turn off after you hit that lever. So as you can see, no more creepers are coming in, and this effect will slowly fade away. And here are the materials. If you'd like to look at them, then you can pause the video. Now I'm going to start showing you how to build the farm. So the first thing we're going to do is go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 blocks up from the ground and place a dispenser on top of it that is facing towards you. Then you can break all the blocks below it. And then place a temporary block in front of the dispenser with the block below it. Break it and then go 2 blocks out from it. Place 2 powered rails on top of it with a rail right here. And then place a block against the rail with a solid block on top. And then place a powered rail right here with 2 blocks in front of that and 2 rails in front of that. And then you're going to want to place a temporary rail right there just so that this rail goes up, and then break that rail, and then place a lever against this block and power it so that it activates all of the powered rails. And then you're going to want to place 2 temporary blocks right here with slabs going all around it, and this is the block that your creepers will be on from the creeper farm. And then you're going to want to come over here, place a temporary block and a slab at the end of that block. After that, place a temporary block right here with another temporary block below that, and then place a piece of string underneath that block, and you can break these 2 blocks. Then place a temporary block over here with a solid block behind it, break this block and put a slab on top, and put a tripwire hook on that side, and then go a temporary block out from the opposite side with a transparent block on this side with another tripwire hook on top of that. Then you're going to want to place a solid block that is 1 block diagonally below this tripwire hook with a piece of redstone dust on top and a redstone torch on this side. And then place a temporary block here with a block below it and break this and put a repeater right here that is on 2 ticks. Then you're going to want to put a solid block in front of it with a slab on top of that. Then come back over to this redstone torch, place a block below it and a block underneath that. Then you can break this temporary block and go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks and 1 to the side. And then you're going to want to place a solid block right there with redstone dust going all along this redstone line. Then you're going to want to place a slab on top of that concrete block. Then grab a piston and put it right here with another piston that's facing this direction right next to it. Then you're going to want to place a sticky piston that goes in this direction with a solid block on the end of it. And then you can place 2 slabs right here, a slab against the repeater, and a temporary block right here with a fence gate that's on top of that. Then you can break this block and put water on top of that. Once you've done that, place a temporary block right here with a solid block below it. Break this block and then go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks outwards. Place 2 more blocks with a dropper at the end of it. Break these 2 blocks and place hoppers going to the end. Then place a detector rail at the end with powered rails going all the way back to the beginning. Then come back over here and place a block right here with soul sand underneath it and a line of blocks going around it. And then you're going to want to create that same wall pattern that we have right here around this block, going up 5 blocks. So go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then once you reach this, you're going to want to do the exact same wall pattern, except remove the block from here, so go like that. Then place 2 blocks extending from both sides and a hopper going into the dispenser. Then place slabs on top of the dispenser and on the edges of all these blocks. And then place water on this block right here. Then grab some kelp and come to the bottom of this water and place kelp going all the way back up to the top. Then you can come back down and break it again, and you should have a bubble elevator that goes back up to the top, and you can take your kelp out of here if you want that as well. And then place a slab right there. Once you've done that, come back over to the solid block over here and go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then place a skulk sensor at the bottom and break all of these blocks on top. Then come back over here and place a block with a redstone repeater on top of that, and a solid block at the end of it with a piece of redstone dust on top. and then place a block against that with another piece of redstone dust, and a block against this redstone piece of dust with another piece of redstone dust on top. Then place 2 transparent blocks on top of that, and 2 more pieces of redstone dust, a transparent block right here, and a temporary block right here with a transparent block on top of that, and a block against this. And then you can place redstone dust on the rest of these blocks. Then come back up to the top over here, and count 1, 2, 3 powered rails over, and place string on top of that. Then go 1, 2 blocks out from this side, break this temporary block, and go 1, 2 blocks out from this side as well, and break this temporary block. And place tripwire hooks on either side with slabs on top of these blocks. Then on this side, you're going to want to place an observer with a solid block at the end of it, and a temporary block right here with a block below that. Break this block and place a redstone repeater with 2 ticks on it, and then place a dispenser right here with water inside of it. Then you're going to want to place slabs on top of all of these blocks, just like that. Once you've done that, come back over to this other tripwire hook and place a dropper underneath it with a temporary block right here and a block behind that. Break this temporary block and place a dropper against that with a button on top, a slab on top of this dropper, and another slab on top of this tripwire hook. Then come back over here and place a temporary block right here with a solid block at the end of it and a block below it. Break this temporary block and put an item inside of this dropper. Then place a comparator against that block with a piece of redstone dust on top, and then place a solid block against this block, a slab on top, a temporary block right there, and another solid block right there with a slab on top of that, and then a block underneath that block. Break this temporary block and put a repeater right there, and then come over here and place a dispenser against this block. Then place a block on top of that with a slab on top, a slab right there, and another temporary block right here with a block beneath that. Then you can break that block. After that, come around here and place 2 slabs on top of each other, just like that. And then place a block right here with a slab on top of that. Come back around over here and place 1, 2, 3 blocks on top of each other with another slab on top. And then come over here and place a slab on top of this powered rail. And then over here, this is the block that you will be getting your effects from, so you might want to mark this for later when you want to use this thing. Once you've done that, come back over to this detector rail and place a sticky piston going outwards against that, and a block of redstone against that. Then come over to this dropper and place 2 blocks against that with redstone dust on top of those, and slabs on top of those 2 blocks. Then place a temporary block and another temporary block going out of that, a block below it, and a solid block against it. Then you can break those 2 blocks. Then place a slab on top with a piece of redstone dust right there. Come back over here and place a redstone torch on top of that block, a temporary block with a redstone torch, and a solid block below that. Break this block and place another piece of redstone dust. Then put a sticky piston going off of that, a redstone block against that, and then 2 temporary blocks going outwards. Break the middle one, and then place a sticky piston going against that, and then you can break this block. Then put slabs on top of all these blocks and come back down here, and then place a temporary block right here, and a temporary block right there, as well as a temporary block right there. Break this block and put a comparator going against this block, and then place a hopper going against here. Break this temporary block and replace it with a hopper facing into the other hopper, and then place a temporary block right here with a solid block against that, and a block below it. Break it, and then place another comparator against that with a piece of redstone dust on top, and come over to the hopper on the right with the redstone block above it, and place 6 items inside of that hopper. Come back over here and place a temporary block against that hopper with a block below it, and break the temporary block below it, and then place a comparator against that with a solid block against the comparator, and a redstone torch on top of that with a solid block on top of that, and then place a piece of redstone dust on top of it with a block going upwards, and another piece of redstone dust, another block going upwards with a piece of redstone dust, and then turn and continue going upwards with another block, and then put a solid block right there with a slab 1 block above it like that. Then come back over to this redstone line that connects to your powered rails, and put down a composter on top of that redstone dust, and a snow block on top of that, a temporary block on top of that snow block, and a slab on top of the temporary block. And then replace the temporary block with a slab that connects to the one above it. And then come back over to the snow block and place another snow block against it and a carved pumpkin against that, and your snow golem should spawn inside the composter. Then come back over here and place a block against that powered rail a temporary block right here with a solid block on top of it. And you can break this block and put another temporary block right here with a block below it, as well as a block above it. And then you can break this temporary block and surround this one with blocks except for the front side. Break this block and put a slab on top of this block and a piece of string on that block with an observer going out of it. And then put a named zombie inside of this little chamber right here. Once you've done that, come to the block that is diagonally above the zombie and place a piece of redstone dust on top of that with a redstone block on top of that and a redstone torch on the side of this block above the fence gate. Come back up here and place a line of 3 slabs going backwards with a sticky piston underneath it and a lever behind it, and activate the lever so the sticky piston is going into this redstone block. Then place an observer against this block with a block below this and a repeater right here that's on 4 ticks. Then grab a solid block and put it against this repeater and place slabs on top of both of those blocks. Come back over here and place a temporary block with a block below it. Break this temporary block and put another block on the side of that block, and then place another redstone repeater that is also on 4 ticks and a piece of redstone dust on that end block. Once you've done that, come back over to this block that's right above the zombie and place a solid block against that with a dropper against the side of it and an item inside. And then place 2 temporary blocks against that, break this middle one, and place another dropper facing into this original one. And then place a temporary block below it with a solid block at the front, and break this block and replace it with another comparator. And then put a redstone torch on top of that with a solid block on top of that and a piece of redstone dust on the top. And then place a block against this piece of redstone dust, another block against that, and then go over towards this slab, and then put redstone dust on all of these blocks, and put a sticky piston facing downwards on this block so that it pushes the solid block downwards right next to this piece of redstone dust. And then put your minecart in the dispenser. And once you've done that, you're done with this part of the contraption. But if you'd like to add the levitation unit of the farm, then you need to add a little bit more. And if you're not going to, then you have to spawn-proof this block right here by putting something like a slab on top of it. So now, to start building the levitation unit for this farm, you're going to want to start by coming over to this block right here and placing a solid block against that other solid block with a lever against that and a slab on top, and activating this lever. And then come down here and place a temporary block against this block and come up against this tripwire and place a trapdoor on the edge of it so that it opens like that, and that when you open it, it's on the bottom block, and you have to keep it like this, and then you can break this solid block. Then come over to your skulk sensor and come to the repeater next to it and place a wool block on the side of it and a temporary block on top of it, and then another wool block on top. You can break this temporary block and place another wool block that goes above this redstone repeater, and then place a block right here with a redstone repeater on top, and this should be on 3 ticks, and place a solid block against it with a redstone torch on the side of it and another piece of redstone dust on top of that, and then place a piece of redstone dust on the side with a block against that and another piece of redstone dust on top, a block on the side again with another piece of redstone dust, and another block on the side with another piece of redstone dust, and this should go into a solid block that has a sticky piston on top and a slime block on top of that. After that, come back down to this repeater right here and place a piece of redstone dust on the block above it with a block against that, another piece of redstone dust on top, and then a transparent block on the side with a piece of redstone dust on top, and then 2 more transparent blocks on top of those blocks with 2 more pieces of redstone dust on top, and then go over a block with a piece of redstone dust on top and a piece of glazed terracotta against that slime block, then place a redstone torch on top of that with a solid block on top of that, and a block right here with a repeater on here that's on 2 ticks, and then place another solid block at the end. And against this solid block, place a sticky piston that should extend, and a piston on top of that, which will also extend. And if you want to test this circuit, then you can activate your skulk sensor by doing something like placing a block near it, and this should pull back, and that should go down, and then this should extend, and this should pull back up, just like it did there. Then come back up to the top, and come to this block that's right behind this tripwire hook, and go to the slab on top of that block, and place 1, 2, 3, 4 slabs back from it. Go over 1, 2 slabs and turn back and go until you reach the slabs above the snow golem. So just like that, and then place another slab right there. Then you're going to want to go to this block right here and place a solid block with a lever on top and activate it, and then place another slab on that block. And then you're going to want to come down here and place a line of blocks going all the way around here. And then come down here and come to the edge and place trapdoors above your head going against this side. So this trapdoor and this trapdoor should open going this way and leave that one closed. But you can also get out of here by opening it and then closing it again. Then, once you've done that, come back down and make another row of blocks underneath. And this time, on this side, stop right before this block that has the comparator next to it. So you have an open block of air right there. And then come back over here and place a line of blocks down here. So you have a 3x3 of blocks right here. And this is the block that your snow golem will be on. Then come over to this composter with the snow golem inside of it and place a full block against that and come up here. And this is where you're going to want to transport your shulker from the end, and make sure you have it named and inside of a minecart, and then you can let it drop into this little area down here. Then you're going to want to break this block and replace it with a full block and put a slab against that with a slab on top, and then break this block and replace it with a slab again. And then come inside of here and put walls on these bottom blocks, and then snow blocks going up, and a carved pumpkin on top to summon your snow golem, and then put a slab above its head, and then you're done with the shulker unit. But once you've done that, you are done with making this contraption. So if you liked the video, then please leave a like, and if you really enjoyed it, then please subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye!